Hello you lovely cups, welcome back to another video. I'm the Dragon Lord. Now, today we are doing something new. I know I've had a lot of new series, but it's just because I want a bit of variety. I don't like being stuck on one series. And I'm currently obsessed with this, so why not? I saw a few of them on YouTube, but they're a bit different, so I'm like, I don't want to do it like that. Today we are doing what if Izuku Midoriya had the world. And before I continue, if you're thinking, oh, he will have Dio's the world, he will have the world and he will have all of Dio's powers. He will also be able to, like, if he wants the alternate universes one, yeah, he will have that. But the thing is, it's his own spin on it, and it's his quirk. He's gonna have it from when he's 4 years old. He's not gonna be like, okay, I have Arrow, now I have the world, alright? And that's not how that's gonna work. I'm gonna give him it from around, when he's 4, because why not? Also, if you haven't already, go down into the description of this video and join a Discord. We're an awesome community. We play Among Us. We usually stream. Well, I usually stream Among Us. And it's fun, you know. There's some big people in it. I'm just saying. Just saying. Anyway. Love you, lovely cups. We hit 600 subscribers not too long ago. And I'm just surprised at this channel, you know. And you guys, so it's just wanted to say that. If I sound a bit tired or a bit sick, I am a bit sick. Don't worry about it. And it's 2 a.m. in the morning. I just was setting up a lot of stuff. As you guys saw earlier today, I uploaded the Rimuru What If, and either tomorrow or after tomorrow there will be another video posted. But that's the 500 sub special. Now I'm a bit late on that, but it's just because we grew so fast. Like, I was not thinking that we were gonna grow so fast, so thank you guys again. And with that out of the way, let's get into the what if. So, our story starts at the kindergarten. A young Bakugo who had just unlocked his quirk was basically flexing on all his friends, as everybody would kind of put him on a pedestal. You would see that young Midoriya would be sitting in the corner, not having a quirk yet, kind of playing on his own. He would go over and kind of make Izuku feel bad by flexing his quirk, as all of a sudden an arm would grab Bakugo's arm, and it would kind of squeeze it, making Bakugo scream out in pain, as Deku would say, "Are you alright? Are you alright?" The arm would go away. Everybody in the room is kind of surprised, and the quirk doc and the teachers tell him that he has to go to the hospital to get a checkup. Izuku that same day goes to the hospital, and basically they arrive at the hospital, and Izuku is already there, and his mom gets in later, and his mom asks, or Inko asks, "What's wrong? Does my son have a quirk? And if so, what is it?" As the guy says, "Your son has a quirk indeed, but it's quite a strange one. He can manifest a kind of spirit almost. Now, as far as the tests go, the spirit is physically connected to your son on some levels, depending if he fully summons it or not." And Inko is kind of confused, and she asks, "Spirit?" And Izuku is with her. He's just sitting right next to her. And the quirk doctor says, "Young Midoriya, could you please pull out the spirit?" As Izuku summons the spirit, which we know as the world, but we're just going to call it spirit for now, the quirk doctor says, "See this spirit. Now, we don't know much of its abilities yet, but we realize that it's a bit stronger than Izuku himself. But that might be because of the spirit in him." Now, Inko questions spirit in him, and then the doctor explains that, well, he is a very, 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 very tough boy. He really likes to become a hero. He really wants to. So the quirk doctor explains that basically because Izuku is such a guy who admires heroes, and because he wants to save people, And because he's got such a strong will and spirit, his stand, which we're going to call the world, but we're going to call it spirit for now, is stronger than his physical counterpart. So Izuku hears this and he's like, so if I become physically stronger, does that mean that my quirk will be stronger? And the quirk doctor explains that every quirk becomes stronger physically, depending on what it is. He brings up a patient that he had earlier the week. As he brings up Katsuki's Bakugo, he explains that his quirk works on liquid nitrogen, so the drawback must be immense depending on how big the explosion. So his physical strength must be higher than whatever his explosion recoil will be. Izuku is confused by this because, he's still a child, but the quirk doctor just says that they will run a few more tests. The next day at school, Izuku comes in and he shows off his quirk. Now, when he shows off his quirk, I wouldn't say that the world would be, the big guy. He would be about the same size as Izuku and look a bit more friendlier, have a bit of green. Before we continue, I would just like to say that we are gonna change it. So it's not gonna be the world because it's Izuku's original take on it. So it's gonna have stages depending on Izuku's growth. And it's also gonna have a requiem, but that requiem won't be for much later, so don't worry about that. Anyway, Izuku is showing off his quirk, and Bakugo is like, that's nothing compared to my quirk. And Izuku says, actually, apparently it's strong, but it's not really. But he just wants to flex a bit like Bakugo did. Bakugo then goes in to, do a small explosion on Izuku, but Izuku kind of dodges it using his stand, and everybody's like surprised, but they're kids, so they don't know a lot yet. And now we're gonna skip a bit. So the day ratherly passes normal, with Bakugo still bullying Izuku a bit, but Izuku not caring that much because he's used to it. He's used to Bakugo. Then after school, Izuku has to go to the hospital to do more tests, and they test out for an entire week what his powers are. And his mom would come in, but Izuku would stay at home because he's tired of all the tests. And she would ask the doctor what all abilities he has. And the doctor explains that what his stand is. As he explains, ma'am, your son's power is called the world. But it's weird. It has some powers that we can't explain. And Inko gets confused by this, and basically the doctor explains that the world has the power to rule the world. So Inko's like, my son can rule the world? And the quirk doctor explains that he can stop time, and that in time stopped, nothing moves, and he can stop time for about 1 second. But we know that's like much longer in JoJo's universe, but 1 second is 1 second. And that he can also do some other stuff. Now, eventually Izuku's the world will be stronger than, Dio's, but that's just normal because it grows with him. It's not the same. It's kind of a quirk now. And the quirk doctor explains that there's some things that they can't look into because it's not ready yet, and that the quirk needs to develop a bit more before they can look into it. And this is the stages that I mentioned. Inko says, "Alright, but the quirk is harmless for the boy, right?" And the doctor explained that he had a nosebleed, and that's because he exaggerated himself, or overdid it when he was doing the time stop. And Inko kind of gets concerned about this, but the doctor says that it should be fine. Now, when Inko gets home, Izuku would be awake, watching the All Might disaster footage, and Izuku would ask, "So, can I become a hero like him?" And Inko says, "Yes, I think you could even surpass him." Super happy, Izuku starts running around the house, and he hopes that he one day can be an awesome hero like All Might. Now, Inko says that he should probably name his spirit, and they have this deck of cards. Now, I'm not gonna name it. I'm gonna let you guys name it, but it needs to have the world in it, because otherwise it's not the world. So it needs to have the world, and then you guys can name whatever it has. But for now, we're just gonna call the stand the world. But if you guys have a name, comment it down below and we will see. I'll pick out the best one next episode. Anyway, Izuku names a stand for now the world, and then his mom is super happy, because her son is happy. So she doesn't really go into that depressed phase. So there's no fat Inko, there's just Inko. Now, they start continuing on, training, which I'll explain. His mom basically explains to him that he can train that time-stopping ability, and that he can also train his physical ability. Now, this is where the first time skip happens, and we'd say about a year. Now, Bakugo is bullying a kid that has a very weak quirk in the playground, and Izuku sees this as he intervenes. Now, Bakugo and Izuku are still friends, but they would be more like kind of like a Bakugo's kind of like a tsundere towards Izuku, because he doesn't want to acknowledge Izuku's power. And the three bullies, with Bakugo included, all show off their quirk, as Izuku just summons his spirit, which looks a bit more buff. Now, Izuku has been, not working out, but his mom put him on a sport, which is basically just exercising, and he runs every day, does like something with his arms, so we're gonna let him do basketball, because basketball is basketball. So he does basketball, and he just runs every day in general. So his physical, just physical state is a bit better than in canon already. And his spirit is way higher, because his mom encourages him, so his will to become a hero is unlike any other. As Bakugo tries to, throw a small explosion, Deku just says, "So world," as time stops. Now, Deku can stop time for about 4 seconds, and he hasn't been able to improve it for the last 4 months. Since 4 months ago, he's only been able to do it for 4 seconds. And Deku mainly thinks that this is a physical, backlash, because his mental state is basically as strong as he can get it. Anyway, while time is stopped, he quickly goes behind the bullies, and he just taps them on the back of the head, making 2 of them pass out, and Bakugo is just standing there, amazed at Izuku's strength. And this is when Bakugo kind of just accepts Izuku, and they become kind of close friends, with a bit of rivalry. So, Bakugo asks his mom for the next week or 2 if he can do the exact same thing Izuku has been doing, and this is where another time skip happens of about 2, we're gonna say 3 years, so that they are about 8 years old, and they've been doing that same exercise for now 4 years. And Izuku can stop time for now 7 minutes, or not 7 minutes, 7 seconds, excuse me. And Bakugo can just do about a bigger explosion, not as big as in canon, like when the series starts, but way bigger than he could when he was 8 in canon. So he's training harder. Now, Bakugo and Izuku decide that they should do better training, because they don't feel like they've been gaining anything for the past year. So Izuku goes up to his mom, who, asks his father, which, spoiler, no, I'm kidding. His father is named, who are we gonna make? What, Josuke? Yeah, Josuke. Yeah, Josuke. So, Izuku's father is Josuke, so his uncle is Jotaro, and like his grandfather is dead, probably at this point, but anyway. Josuke isn't always home, but the Joestars are pretty rich, so Josuke doesn't have to work a lot because he is family of them and, whatever. But he still has to work because, he doesn't want to not work and not provide himself, and he doesn't want to like leech off Jotaro and all them. So he's home not always, but he comes home often. And Josuke's power is, Diamond is his crazy diamond power. And just to say, like, he has crazy diamond, but it's like not as strong as crazy diamond from the show. And we're only gonna have Josuke and Jotaro we're not gonna have like Giorno and all of them. Well, maybe we'll see. We'll see if we'll have Giorno, but we'll definitely have Josuke, Jotaro. We'll have a bit of history on Dio. Now, so Izuku and Bakugo ask Inko, because Bakugo can't really ask his parents because he's a bit embarrassed to ask them anything, so he just comes along with Izuku, trying to do the same training Izuku does, because he thinks that will probably power his quirk up. Now Izuku asks his mom what training he could do, and Inko, and Inko calls Josuke, and Josuke tells him that he did that he just did rigorous training, that he did a lot of push-ups and all that until he got like a good physique, but that his willpower was definitely way stronger than normal people, and that's mainly because he was a JoJo, but that didn't really awaken until he was like 14, 15. Do you get what I'm getting at? Anyway, Izuku decides to bump up his training, and the two boys decide that they should do push-ups at least like 100 or 200 a day, and sit-ups at least 100 or 200 a day. I'd say like Izuku would be physically stronger than Bakugo because he did it for like a year before Bakugo. And I would say that Izuku would do like 150 push-ups, sit-ups, squats, and a bit more of a run. Yes, Saitama training. And Bakugo would do just 100 of each, and that would be kind of it. Izuku would be a bit ahead of Bakugo. Anyway, they do that for about a month, and Izuku can feel it, that he's been becoming more powerful, because he can like stop time for like 10 seconds now. It's been gradually increasing by a lot, and it's mainly, and the more time like he can freeze, the more his will just increases, the more happier he becomes, and the more strength he gets. So in the end, the more he progresses, the stronger he becomes, because will is part of his quirk. Anyway, Bakugo, Izuku are playing in their room because they're still kids. They want to play sometimes too. So they play in Izuku's room. They're playing with All Might figures, and this is when there's a knock on the door. Now Inko's not home, so Izuku goes down and goes to open it. He's kind of strong, so he's not afraid if he has to fight somebody. This is when he sees a tall man in a white cloakish kind of thing with a weird hat on. This is Jotaro. As he asks him who he is, he says, "I'm Jotaro Kujo. Some people refer to me as Jojo. Is Inko home? I have to tell her something." And Izuku says, "No, she's not home, but you can come in." And Jotaro comes in and takes off his shoes. Respect Japanese homes. Anyway, he comes in and he's like, "Oh, nice place you got here, kiddo." And Izuku's like, "Oh, don't worry, it's not really much." Now, Jotaro knows about quirks, but stands are kind of just like quirks for them, so it's kind of nothing. Stands are just quirks, but they're like a special quirk, so we'll just call them special quirks, with each like their own little power. But I'm not giving everybody quirks, it's basically just Dio, Jotaro, those guys. So anyway, Jotaro sits down, and Izuku's like, "Can I get you something?" And Bakugo comes over to glance, and Jotaro notices this, and he says like, "Hey kid, you can come out, you don't have to hide." And Bakugo comes out, but Bakugo is like a bit more, scared of the Jotaro family, or well, the Joestar family, because he knows of Deku's strength, so it's like, "Do you also have a spirit like Deku?" He asks that to Jotaro, and Jotaro just looks at him and he's like, "What do you mean?" And he has like, "Yeah, like a big guy." And then Jotaro pulls out Star Platinum, and he's like, "Oh wow!" And I would say like Jotaro is a hero, and he would be either rank 2 or rank 3. I'm gonna put him at rank 3 because he wouldn't really care that much. And Josuke is like probably rank 5 something hero, so we're gonna do that. But, he's less popular than the others. Anyway, this is when, Bakugo realizes that Jotaro is the number 3 hero. So he's like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, you're number 3 hero. Can I get your autograph? Because Bakugo hasn't that big of an ego, so he's not like, hey, get away, stuff like that. And this is when Deku realizes, that Jotaro is, his uncle, and that he's also number 3 hero. So he's very cool. And Izuku pulls out, the world, and Jotaro just has like PTSD, and he thinks Dio took over this kid, so he like is ready to punch Izuku. This is when Inko comes in, and she sees this, and she tells Jotaro to stop. Jotaro stops, and he just looks at Izuku, and Izuku just says, "What? why were you about to punch me?" And Jotaro just explains that there was once a villain called Dio, who had a similar stand to him after stealing their great grandfather's body, which had that stand, or had the potential to have a stand. Now, Izuku would be confused about this, but, Jotaro would just not say anything more about that, and he would just say, that stand is powerful. Make sure you use it well. I can sense something within you, something stronger than any of other Joestars. Izuku would just look on, and he would be like, so, can you also stop time? And Jotaro would say, yes, I can stop time for about 6 seconds. Because Jotaro uses a stand more often, I'd say he gets about 6 seconds to like 7 seconds. And Izuku would be like, wow, I can stop time longer than the number 3 hero. And Jotaro would just look at Izuku, and Izuku would be like, I can stop time for 10 seconds. And Jotaro would seem surprised, because even Dio, a vampire, could only stop time for 9 seconds. Which Jotaro says, hey kid, how about I train you a bit to use that stand properly? And Izuku would be like, really? And then Bakugo would be like, can I also get the training? Because my quirk is also becoming stronger from training like Deku. And Jotaro just says, alright, come to this area at this hour, Saturday. And so they do. And it's basically the beach. It's not the same beach as in canon, it's another beach. And it's not really like similar. There's no trash. It's just like those rocky beaches. And Jotaro just tells Izuku that he will be training him here, that they will spar, that Jotaro will teach him martial arts, the time-stopping ability, what he can do to improve it, and, just basic training by, like, breaking rocks or lifting them. And this goes on for, I'd say, about until they're 14, so a bit before the show starts, or I'd say 13 and a half, because I don't know exactly when the show starts. I think that's 14, but anyway. Anyway, let's continue. Sorry about that, I had a bit of a cramp. Anyway, they continue. They're training until 13, and Izuku can well stop time for longer than a minute. Now, I'm not going to be like, yeah, he can stop time for 11 seconds. No. He's been training with Jotaro. His physical strength is just way, way stronger. Like, he can probably stop time for about 5 minutes, I'd say, without feeling, pain or without getting nosebleeds or anything. And if he really pushes it, he would probably be able to stop time for 7 minutes. And that would then leave him exhausted, where he would have to take a break for a bit. His stand is way stronger than Dio's stand ever was. Like, compared to, like, if he fought Jotaro, there would be no match. Jotaro basically stopped training him after 10 because Izuku's physical and stand power was just stronger. And, Jotaro could only teach him martial arts and what he knows. Now, Izuku wouldn't only train with Jotaro, he would also try to find other methods of training and other martial arts. So I'd put him probably... He learned a lot of martial arts. He can stop time, and his physical power is just way stronger. And because he has such a big will, because, because he has such a big spirit, let's just say it like that, it just amplifies his power even more, because, the more he saw that he could stop time for longer, the happier he became, the more motivated he became to become a strong hero. Now, I wouldn't say that Jotaro didn't get anything out of this. Basically, the moment that Izuku surpassed Jotaro, they started training together, and Jotaro can probably stop time for a minute now, and he would be way stronger than what he would normally be. And, Josuke would also figure out about this, so Josuke would come in and train a bit, but he wouldn't have a time-stopping power, he would just get stronger in general. Anyway, so, about Izuku's 13 and a half, so he's not far from becoming 15. Now, he starts, learning a bit more. He wants a bit more of a bigger brain. He wants to evolve academically as well as physically. So he trains, but he also studies really hard, because otherwise he's not going to make it into UA. So he does this together with Bakugo. Now Bakugo would probably be equal or not, if not stronger than like his current canon counterpart. I would put him probably like way stronger than his current canon counterpart. He can do like those explosions that you saw in the festival, those massive explosions. He can do those like without breaking or hurting himself pretty easily. And like the biggest explosion he can do can basically wipe out an entire city. He has tested this, and I will not tell you the dangers that cost. Anyway, Izuku and Bakugo start studying together and training together. But Bakugo would also go hang out with his friends, because, he's not... He gets a bit more of an ego because he's stronger than the others. But he sees that he can probably never surpass Deku, or Izuku, which he doesn't really call him Deku, but Izuku doesn't see it as an insult anymore. It's more like a friendly thing that they do to each other, and Izuku calls him Kachan. But they start studying together a bit, but Bakugo still goes out hanging out with, his bully friends, or his stuck friends that, think he's a god. And, they still bully Izuku at school, because Izuku hasn't really shown any power at school, but Bakugo sometimes stands up for Izuku. Now, let's say 5 months passes, and Izuku has turned 14, and, he's way, he gets way stronger again, but, I'm not going to go into detail. He can just stop time for a bit longer. We'll say 6 minutes without hurting himself at all, and then like 8 minutes with a nosebleed and, exhausted, so he has to take like a 10, or not 10-second, but like good 2:30 to like, we'll say like 5 minutes break. So he takes a 5-minute break. Anyway, Izuku starts, walking home after, the class. So in class, the teacher says, so you all want to become heroes anyway? There's no point in giving you out your future sheets. And everybody in the class goes crazy, besides Izuku and Bakugo. Now, Bakugo says, teach, don't lump me in with this bunch of losers, right? And then the teacher says, Bakugo, you're going to UA, right? And everybody in the class is just like, yeah, he can easily make it to UA. And then the teacher says, Izuku, you're also going to UA, I see. And everybody starts making fun of Izuku, but Bakugo kind of stands up for Izuku, saying that Izuku's even stronger than him. Now, nobody believes him, and, Izuku doesn't really want to show off his power. Now, this is when, class goes over, and then these two bullies go up to him and basically throw out his book, which Bakugo saw, and Bakugo was not happy about it, so he came up to them and scared them off. Bakugo says that he's sorry for those two and that they can be real idiots, but Izuku just says that it's fine. And, Bakugo leaves to go catch up to his friends to, kind of punish them. Izuku goes to go get his book, and he just really wants to get home early because he needs to study. He takes a shorter route, and this is when the sludge villain attacks him. Now, he sees it, and the moment he sees the sludge villain, he just stops time. And this is when, time is stopped. He basically just takes out a bottle, empties it, and just slowly starts putting the sludge in it. And before the sludge villain can realize it, he's stuck in Izuku's bottle, and Izuku is making his way to a police station. So he's going out of the other side of the, whatever it's called. Now, All Might would pop up out of nowhere and say, "Don't worry, I am here." What happened here? And then Izuku would just fanboy him like, oh my god, All Might, can I please get your autograph? And he would pull out his book, and All Might's like, sure, what's your name? Midoriya. To young Midoriya, All Might. Say, have you seen a massive sludge monster? And Izuku would just say, oh yeah, here you go. As he would pull out 2 soda bottles. He's like, I captured this guy earlier. He tried to assault me, so I stopped time and caught him. Now, All Might would be like, wait, you can stop time like the 3rd most popular hero, Jotaro Kujo? He's like, yeah, that's my uncle. And All Might's like, oh, it's a pleasure to meet you. And Izuku's like fanboying, but All Might's like, welp, gotta go. But Izuku's not talking to All Might yet, so Izuku kind of grabbed onto All Might's leg. And All Might's like, let go. And Izuku's like, no, I'll fall. Sorry about that, I had to. And All Might just lands on a roof. And this is when All Might turns into Small Might. And the villain does drop, but All Might just Izuku asks him some more questions, and All Might explains, his wounds and all that. And this is when Izuku asks, so, could I become a hero with a quirk that was once a quirk of a villain? And All Might would explain that if Izuku really wants to become a hero, then there's no problem with him becoming a hero. He could probably easily become a hero, even if his quirk is something that a villain used to have. As All Might asks, what even is your quirk? As Izuku just shows his quirk, All Might just kind of stands shocked because he remembers a big battle that he took part in Egypt between a vampire named Dio and Jotaro. And, it is stage 2, so what you're seeing now on screen is stage 2 of what his stand looks like. So it's not the same. The moment he became 14, it transformed into stage 2. Now, All Might tells him that if he really hones the quirk and makes it his own, that there should be no problem with him becoming a hero. And All Might remembers that, that the villain could stop time. So he asks Izuku, young Izuku, can you actually stop time? And Izuku explains, yeah, I can stop time for about 6 to 7 minutes without any drawback. Then I need to take a 30-second pause and then I could do it again. Or sometimes a minute pause, depends on how long I do it. But I could also do it for like 10 minutes, but that really starts hurting my brain and my physic and just my body in general. And All Might just says, interesting. I think you can become a fine hero. I shall see you in UA. And then he leaves. Now Izuku's like, in UA? As he realizes that, he's gonna teach in UA. So I also just want to say, the number 5 hero, which is Josuke, he can heal, so it's kind of similar to the Kissy girl, whatever her name is, recovery girl, but yeah. So anyway, Izuku just goes out of the building, is about to go off the building, and he sees an explosion. So he decides to go over there, he doesn't want to go over there, but he starts walking, unconsciously walking towards it. And he sees that the sludge villain escaped, and he wants to step in to stop it. And he's panicking. He's like, "Oh no, this is all my fault. I shouldn't have done that. Why did I do that? I shouldn't have grabbed onto All Might like that. Oh, the poor soul that's in him. He must be struggling so hard." As he just turns around and he sees that it's Bakugo. Now, All Might is standing close by and he's like, "Damn it! If only I had a bit more energy left, I could have saved that boy." And this is when he sees that Izuku runs in, and Izuku just like says, "Kachan, the world!" As just everything freezes, and Izuku just grabs out Bakugo, and Bakugo starts moving, and Bakugo can talk. And Bakugo's like, "What? What's happened?" And Izuku says, "I don't know. My legs just started moving, and when I pulled you out, you started moving too." And Bakugo explains that maybe you can let other people move into your time zone too. And Izuku's like, "That's very strong." Bakugo's like, "Yeah, that would be a very good quirk to, use for teams." And Izuku's just like, "So, are we gonna let this guy have it?" And Bakugo's like, "Hell yeah." As they just start doing move after move. Now, Izuku's strongest punches leave probably a shockwave as strong as like 25% All Might. So when he just does a bunch of them, it's basically like the Nomu fight where he does like 300 punches. Now, the time restarts and Izuku's like, "What?" As he just like, "What?" He falls to the ground. Or well, not really. He just sinks to one knee. As Bakugo just looks at him, "What?" And Izuku's like, "My brain, it just started hurting a lot. How many minutes was that?" And Bakugo's like, "That was around 30 seconds since you pulled me in." And Izuku's like, "Maybe having more than one person in your time zone just hurts more?" As his nose starts bleeding. Now, the sludge villain is just gone and the weather changed to rain. As everybody just looks on kind of confused, the heroes come up to Izuku and Bakugo. As Izuku and Bakugo have to explain everything to them, Bakugo's just like, "Yeah, I don't know what happened. We all of a sudden just were in a motionless world and we started attacking the sludge villain to make him disappear." Now, Bakugo has learned AP Shot and can control his blast better than in canon, so don't worry about that. He didn't do any environmental damage. And after Izuku did all his punches, the weather kind of changed and it started to rain. Now, Izuku gets sent home and Bakugo also goes with him. And Bakugo is about to make his turn and he says, "Hey, Izuku!" Yeah? "Thanks. You really saved my butt back there. I owe you one." As Izuku just says, "Don't worry. That's what friends are for." As Bakugo just leaves. Now, Izuku continues a bit, and he's about to turn a corner when all of a sudden, All Might comes out saying, "I am here!" And then he just transforms back into Small Might, coughing up blood, making Izuku worry. Now, All Might explains that, or All Might says, "Young Izuku, I saw what you did earlier today. That was very brave of you. And what I said earlier about you becoming a hero, I was wrong." And this would make Izuku kind of shocked. He was like, "Huh? What do you mean?" And All Might is like, "You can't just become a hero. You can become a superhero. You will probably be the #1 hero." And Izuku's just like, "Really?" And All Might's like, "Yes. If you want, I'll train you. And if you also want, I offer my quirk to you." Now Izuku's confused and he asks, "Quirk?" And All Might explains that what his quirk is and how he can pass it down and all that. And Izuku's like, "Oh, that's a lot to take in. Can I think about that for a while?" And All Might's like, "I'll let you think about the quirk thing, but do you still want to train with me?" And Izuku's like, "Yeah, I would love to train with you, All Might. When and where?" And All Might just gives him a location to a beach. Now, Izuku gets like flashbacks of his uncle, and he's like, "Oh, we're gonna do something like that. Alright." And Izuku just goes back home, and basically the entire night he thinks of it. And he then goes to the beach the next day, where All Might is. And All Might says, "Young Izuku, you are quite strong with your quirk, yes. And I've been informed by the number 3 hero, and this is when Jotaro comes around the corner saying, "Hello, Izuku." And, Izuku's quite happy to see Jotaro because he hasn't seen Jotaro in a while. He's like, "Uncle Jotaro!" as he just runs up to Jotaro. Now, Jotaro explains that he has known All Might for quite a while, and that he has known about One for All, and that that All Might even offered Jotaro One for All, but Jotaro refused, saying that he had a better candidate in mind for the future. Now, All Might explains that what the training will be, and that he was informed that Izuku's been already doing physical training, but All Might said that they will take it to the next level, doing massive spars where Izuku's not allowed to use his quirk, but where he has to defend against Star Platinum and All Might together. And Izuku's just like, "What? That's impossible." And All Might's like, "Well, first I'll let you clean this trash, and you have to do it all within 1 second." And he means like time stop 1 second, so that's like 10 seconds. And Izuku's like, "What? That's impossible. Have you seen the speech?" And All Might just explains, "Well, start." And Izuku just stops time, and he just basically punches everything and sends it over to like where the parking lot is. And time restarts, and basically all the trash flew over there, and Izuku's just panting. He's like very exhausted from doing that because he had to move quite fast in a motionless world. So, it was kind of heavy for him while also not being heavy for him because gravity doesn't work, but it's kind of weird, okay? Anyway, he starts panting. This is when Dio says, "You did a good," or not Dio, I mean All Might says, "You did a good job, kid. That was exactly 1 second, right?" And Jotaro says, yes, that was 1 second. And Izuku just like, "That was exhausting." And All Might explains, "Yes, but you did a good job, and you even compressed some of it to make place." And All Might just explains, "Well, this will be where we will be training from now on. I hope you're ready." And the first thing All Might teaches Izuku is, that you have to be smart. And with that I mean smart in battle. So, I'd say about 2 months go by, and Jotaro and All Might don't go easy on Deku or Izuku, because they both team up on him, and he's not allowed to use his stand or his time stop. He has to physically become stronger, and then they have to do a stand test every week or 2 weeks. And what that means is they physically buff him, mentally buff him, and then they test if his stand became any stronger, because it's mainly his stand. Now, after those, or wait, did I say 2 months? I meant to say 2 weeks, I'm sorry. So 2 weeks. So after those 2 weeks, Izuku would have decided that he does want One for All in case that he can't activate his stand for some reason. So All Might gives him One for All. Now Izuku would be probably able to use 50% of One for All without hurting his arm, and I'd say he can go up to 60 without breaking it, but over 60 and he's definitely breaking it. So like 60 is the limit and 50 is like the safe limit. So anyway, after he got One for All, his stand, or like his quirk, and his his stand, the world, became way stronger. He could stop time for easily an hour, and his stand is stronger than himself. So if he did a punch of 50%, his stand could do a punch that's like 100% or even past 100%, because that's just how much stronger his stand is compared to himself. Now, his stand is also precise and has way more control, because, time stopping and stuff like that takes way more control. So, Izuku would probably learn after like 1 month, he would probably learn full cow, because stopping time, I think you need a lot of control to stop time, and a lot of, just control and precision and stuff like that. So I don't think it would be that hard for Izuku to learn full cow. So after like a month or so, he learns full cow. After that month, he also has brought his safe limit to 55%, and that's just from doing new exercises that just buff himself way quicker, newbie gains. And yeah, he just gets a lot of strength very fast. I'd say about 4 months into the training, he can stop basically time for 2 weeks, nearly a month if he really tries. And the way that he knows this is because he actually has done it. He has stopped time for 2 weeks where he has just roamed around. And, after those 2 weeks, he became bored. So Jotaro probably said, so I think you can stop time for about, I'd say, a month, 2 months, if that's not that hard. And Izuku's like, so I can basically just switch time on and off yeah. And Jotaro's just like, yeah, you are a strong hero. Like, do you even need to go through a provisional licensing exam? Like, I mean, you could probably beat all of the heroes if they came at you together. Because Izuku has been fighting All Might and Jotaro at them being at 100%, and sometimes Josuke is there too. And All Might has been healed. He doesn't have the injury. He just wants to pass on one for all because he's becoming weaker due to age. And the reason he's been healed is because of Josuke. Josuke has healed him because his power works differently than, Recovery Girl. Anyway, All Might just trains together with Josuke and Jotaro sometimes, and they all become stronger. All Might become stronger. I would probably put him at his prime after the 4 months. Jotaro can stop time for basically 10 minutes now, if he really wants to. And if he really, really wants to, he can do it for 20 minutes. And Josuke just becomes physically stronger, as well as his healing has become better, because sometimes they get really, really hurt from fighting Izuku. Now, All Might has decided, we're gonna take the training up a notch. You're gonna have weights on, and I mean heavy weights. These weights are not light, and we're gonna come at you at full power. Now, Izuku has to keep the weights on. He's not allowed to take them off ever, unless he has to shower or something like that, right? So they start training, and I'd say 2 months in, Izuku can take them both on with the weights on. Now the weights are a lot. They're not light. It's basically Izuku's carrying 3 more people while fighting All Might and Jotaro and sometimes Josuke. And he can hold his own against All Might and Jotaro, who are now even stronger. They're not weak. They are way stronger than what they were before. With Jotaro being able to stop time for about 30 minutes, but I'm gonna put a drawback on it. He can only stop time for so much. His time stop isn't full time stop. It's more he just makes the world go way slower. Now, that doesn't mean that his time stop can stop everyone, because there are some heroes that can go very fast and stuff like that. So I'd say fast heroes and people who just go fast can go into his time stop, but Izuku's time stop is a bit more advanced. And the reason why I'm nerfing Jotaro is because Izuku's the main character, not Jotaro. No, I'm kidding. We're not gonna nerf Jotaro that badly. Some heroes just his time stop just doesn't work that well as Izuku's. Izuku's is more controlled. We'll just put it like that. Izuku can manually stop things. He doesn't need to stop the entire world. He can just stop, for example, one person from moving. So it's kind of an ultimate imprisonment move. But anyway, Jotaro, All Might, and Josuke all team up on Izuku one day. And they're going at it. They're screaming their battle cries. Ora, 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 dora, dora, dora. Delaware smash! And Izuku's just blocking all of it quite easily. Now, Jotaro is confused on how Izuku all of a sudden got such a huge power buff. And Izuku didn't realize it, but because he is aging, his stand is becoming stronger too. And his stand is on the verge of going to stage 3, but it's not quite there yet. And Jotaro sees this and he's like, Izuku, stop. Everyone stops. He's like, Izuku, your stand is evolving. And Izuku's confused on what it is. And this is when Jotaro says, in Italy, there's a guy who has an arrow, and he put it in himself, and somehow it made his stand or his quirk become stronger. He called it Requiem. Now, there's also some other people. They have stages or acts, as you would say, in their stands. Now, I sense that your stand is upgrading. And Izuku says, yeah, my stand didn't always look like this. My stand was more yellow. It's becoming green over time. And Jotaro says, let's push you really hard for these last 2 months we have. And All Might and Josuke is like, are you sure about that? Like, he's still just a teenager. And Jotaro's like, Izuku, we're gonna put weights on you that are so heavy that even maybe me, All Might, and Josuke can't carry them all together. And you're gonna need to probably use one for all to, even walk around. So, let's do that. So, basically the next day they put the weights on Izuku, and Izuku, even just walking, just like, it's impossible. Like, the weights are so heavy. He can use one for all at 100% by now. Like, that would just be stupid not having him use one for all at 100%. But he has full cal and he has 100%. Now, he doesn't have shoot style yet because he doesn't really fight himself. He lets his stand fight more. But if he fights himself, he doesn't really have the similar style to All Might because he has martial arts and stuff like that. So anyway, Izuku has 2 months of very, very rigorous training. And after these 2 months, because his weights were not allowed to come off. Like, if he wanted to shower, he just had to shower with the weights on. Now, that should decay the metal or like make the metal weaker, but it's like special metal with like a thingy on top, so it doesn't have that. Alright, whatever. So anyway, Izuku just trains and trains and trains. There's no stopping him. Like, he's in school with the weights on, everybody sees him and they're all like surprised. And then like Bakugo sees it and he's like, what is this kid doing, And basically, after all that time passed, Izuku just finally gets the weights off. And he's not been using one for all for like the last 2 weeks when he had the weights on. He was just walking around normally, and they had to put on a bit more weights just to have him walk a bit slower and a bit more, So every time he would become buffer a bit more. And they take the weights off him, and he's just jacked. He's just ripped. He's strong. Because they all team up on him, and they did their own training. They weren't sitting around. They were training. They all fight him. And keep in mind, this is an All Might that is stronger than Prime All Might. Like, way stronger than Prime All Might. And a Jotaro that can stop time. Well, depends, but he can stop time, basically. Not to like the level control of Izuku, because Izuku can stop time, but he can also let people move in his time. Jotaro just stops time for the entire world. And Josuke is just strong. Basically, all of them are equal. Well, not equal. They've all surpassed Prime All Might, which Izuku knows. And they all start fighting Izuku. Now, they all just get bodied. Like, that scene in JoJo where everybody attacks him and then all of a sudden he's just, boom, they're all knocked out. It's like the first pillar that gets, like, Santa Diego or something. Yeah, it's like that. They just all get bodied in 1 second. And they're all just like, what? How is this kid so strong? And All Might just looks at Izuku and as he realizes the aura that Izuku's giving off. And Jotaro then realizes Izuku just beat them without using his stand, without using one for all, just physical strength alone. As Jotaro says, reveal your stand, because that's what they call their quirks. Like quirk types, and just the stage 3 comes out, and Jotaro just feels the immense power, and Izuku just says, I think there's no time limit anymore. And Jotaro and the others are like, what are you talking about? I think I can stop time whenever I want, for however long I want. And the others are just like, what? That's impossible. That's like a feat that no one has done because it's impossible. And Izuku's like, no, I think I can do it. And I think I have a weird power. Now, this is one of Izuku's original powers. I think I can change time for something. And on this beach, there's like a bunch of plants because they've been trying to make it nice. But, they had to move to the first beach. But on the second beach, all of a sudden, they're just there. Izuku teleported all of them there in a second, and they didn't even realize. Like, not even Jotaro, who can see into the stopped time, place. And Izuku's just like, this plant. As he stretches out his hand, the plant just instantly withers away. Now, first, this makes All Might think of a villain, and then Izuku's like, As he snaps his finger, the plant's just back, and the plant even looks better than before. It looks like way, right as it bloomed. And Izuku's like, I can change the time of things. And All Might's like, what? That's so powerful. And Izuku's like, I'm immortal now. But not really. But basically, Izuku just has full time control. That's one of his powers. Second power is that he can basically teleport anywhere he wants because he can just freeze time to that level where if he just takes a 30-minute walk, it would feel like a millisecond for the people that he takes with him. So yeah, he can freeze time to like a point where not even Jotaro can go into that frozen time spectrum. And that sounds weird, but it's all right, okay? It's like if you go so fast that you go backwards in time, it's like that, but it's just time just gets so frozen that not even people that can freeze time can go into that frozen time, zone. So Izuku is just very strong now, and it's mainly because of his stage 3, and everybody realizes it around him. His stage 3 awakened the moment he took off those weights, by the way, just wanted to make that clear. And he just goes walking around town, and everybody can just feel this aura of him. And, Jotaro, who's following him, All Might can't really follow him, but Jotaro, who's following him, just says, hey, can you maybe, retract that aura? And Izuku's just like, yes. And he does. Now, for those of you thinking, wait, how did All Might become Small Might? Well, Josuke fixed his injury when they started training. Just wanted to make that clear. Now, All Might has not lost One for All, at all yet. And it's mainly because Izuku kind of did something. Now, some of you will notice. Izuku made a copy, basically, of One for All. He said to All Might, I have reset your quirk factor before you gave me One for All. Now, you're still as strong as you currently are, but One for All is just back in you. So I want you to pass it on to another someone. In case I ever get brainwashed or anything, that there's at least hope of someone beating me. Now, Jotaro's like, who can ever beat you? Come on. And Izuku's like, well, if you get One for All, for example, you'd stand a good chance. I mean, you literally fought someone before you had to time skip, and they had this time skip. You learn fast, Jotaro, and I look up to you for that. Now, Jotaro became the second strongest hero, and Josuke became the third strongest, with Endeavor being the fourth. And, yeah, All Might is still number one because All Might is strong. Very strong now. I would put All Might is either equal to Jotaro or a bit stronger, but if Jotaro uses his time stop at the right moment, he can probably beat All Might. But anyway, the day of the UA entrance exam, Izuku walks through the gate, and he sees a familiar face. But before I continue, that's where I'm going to leave off the video. Yeah, cliffhanger. Anyway, I'm sorry guys, I had to cliffhanger. It's not much of a video of mine if it's not a cliffhanger in there. Anyway, if you guys want part 2, which I don't know if you want. This is just a little series I've been thinking of. Anyway, if you guys want part 2, let's say 20 likes, because I'm really liking this story. And with that out of the way, have a lovely day. Join the Discord. Yeah. See you guys later. Bye. Subscribe for more.